The phone call came at 9:17 on a Wednesday night. I was elbow deep in suds, washing the dinner dishes Chloe had left in the sink before she rushed out. Asterisk, gotta run, babe. Julie's having a crisis. You know how she is. Might be a late one. Don't wait up. Asterisk, a peck on the cheek, the scent of her jasmine perfume. And she was gone, her taillights disappearing into the soft Seattle drizzle. Julie, the younger sister, the perpetual crisis. A broken nail was a 5-alarm fire for Julie, and Chloe was always the first responder. I didn't mind. Not really. I liked it about Chloe, her big heart, her loyalty. It was one of the things I'd fallen for. That, and the way she looked at me like I'd hung the moon. At least, she used to. The phone on the kitchen counter buzzed, vibrating against the granite. Julie's cell. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, a smile already forming. Calling to thank me for loaning out her sister for the evening, no doubt. Hey, Jules. I answered, cradling the phone between my shoulder and ear as I resumed scrubbing a pot. Mission accomplished. Is the crisis averted? A pause on the line. Then Julie's voice, confused, a little slurry. She probably had a glass of wine or 3. Mark? What mission? What are you talking about? Chloe. She said she was with you. Some kind of emergency. Another pause, longer this time. I could hear the faint hum of a television in the background. With me? Mark, I haven't seen Chloe since Sunday brunch. I've been home all night, watching The Bachelor and feeling sorry for myself because Kevin forgot our damn anniversary. Again, the scrubbing stopped. The pot slipped from my fingers, clattering into the stainless steel sink with a sound that was too loud, too final. The world didn't tilt, but it did seem to go very still and very quiet, as if someone had muted all the background noise of my life. Julie, I say, my voice strangely calm. Say that again. She's not here, Mark. I swear. I texted her like 2 hours ago asking for that recipe for the spinach artichoke dip, and she just sent back a thumbs up emoji. I figured she was busy with you. A cold trickle, like the drizzle outside, had found a way inside my veins, started at the base of my skull, and began to spread. What time was that? I don't know. 7:15. Right around the time she'd kissed me goodbye. Okay, I said. The word felt like a stone in my mouth. Okay, Julie. Thanks. Mark, wait, is everything. I hung up. I stood in the bright, quiet kitchen, water dripping from my fingertips onto the floor. The house, our house, the one we'd painted together, filled with furniture we'd picked out on weekend trips to Bainbridge Island, felt suddenly like a set. A beautifully decorated stage for a play that had just ended, leaving only me, the forgotten actor, under the harsh work lights. Asterisk, she said she was visiting her sister. Her sister called me looking for her. Asterisk. The sentence looped in my head, a stark, plain, inarguable fact. It wasn't a suspicion. It wasn't a hunch. It was a geographical impossibility. Chloe was somewhere in the city, but she was not where she said she would be. The foundation of trust, which I had believed was bedrock, revealed itself to be rice paper. And the truth, whatever it was aflame. I did not panic. A strange, hyper-focused calm descended. This was a problem, a critical malfunction in the system of my marriage. And I was an engineer. I fixed problems. I gathered data. I analyzed. I formulated a response. First, I checked her location on Find My iPhone. We'd shared our locations years ago, for safety, for convenience. In case I get kidnapped by a client, she joked. The little pulsing dot showed her phone was a boutique hotel downtown, the Harbor View, not in the residential neighborhood where Julie lived. Data point 1. Lie confirmed. My heart was a slow, heavy drum now. I moved to my study, booted on my laptop. My fingers were steady. I logged into our shared phone carrier account. Another thing we did for convenience, to manage the family plan. I pulled up the detailed call and text log for her line. There was a number, not Julie's. A 206 number that appeared with a frequency that was a statistical anomaly. Multiple texts per day. Calls, some lasting over an hour, late at night when I was traveling for work, or early in the morning before I woke up. The pattern stretched back months. The most recent text exchange was today, at 6:45 p.m. Unknown number asterisk room 814. I'm here, asterisk. Chloe's number asterisk on my way. 20 minutes. Asterisk. Unknown number asterisk can't wait. The message preview was like a physical blow to the sternum. I sat back, the air leaving my lungs in a slow, controlled exhale. I felt dizzy. I felt sick. But above all, I felt that terrifying, icy clarity. I copied the number. I pasted it into a reverse lookup search I had access to through a work database. It came back registered to a David Chun. The name meant nothing. A quick cross-reference on LinkedIn. David Chun, Senior VP of Business Development, Avalon Tech. A competitor, ironically, to my own firm. I pulled up his company profile photo. Handsome. Mid-40s. Confident smile. The kind of man who wore his success like a well-tailored suit. So, David Chun. Room 814. The Harbor View. I looked at the time. 9:45 p.m. She'd left just after 7 o'clock. She'd been with him for almost 3 hours. The next part required a decision. The old Mark, the trusting husband, would have perhaps called her, voice trembling with hurt and betrayal. Asterisk, Chloe, where are you? Julie called. Asterisk, that would lead to lies, tears, gaslighting. Asterisk, it's not what you think. We were just working. I didn't want to worry you. Asterisk, it would lead to a long, painful, ambiguous night of screaming or sobbing or worse. Hollow reconciliation. It would be messy. It would be on her terms. The new Mark, the one standing in the ruins of his own naivete, made a different choice. If this was a performance, I would not be a captive audience. I would be the director. I would control the finale. I picked up my phone. I didn't call Chloe. I called my oldest friend, Ben. Ben was a lawyer, but more than that, Ben was a pragmatist with the moral flexibility of a wartime general. Ben, it's Mark. I need your help. Chloe's having an affair. I have proof. I know where they are right now. To his credit, Ben didn't offer condolences. He just said, "What do you need?" "I need a witness. I need someone with a camera. I'm going to go confront them. But I don't want it to be a he said, she said. I want it documented. And I need you to tell me what to do and not do, legally." Ben was silent for a beat. The Harbor View? 814. Yes. I know the head of security there. Play golf with him. Give me 10 minutes. Do not go in that room. Do not touch either of them. Do not threaten. You go to the hotel. You ask for security to accompany you to the room for a wellness check on your wife, whom you have reason to believe may be in distress. I'll make the call. Meet them in the lobby. And Mark, yeah. Don't do anything stupid. The goal isn't vengeance tonight. The goal is irrefutable, admissible fact. Vengeance is a financial document served by a process server later. Understood. I changed my clothes. I put on dark jeans, a plain black sweater. I looked like a man going to a funeral. In a way, I was. The drive downtown was a blur of rain-smeared neon and my own reflection in the car window, a ghostly, determined face floating over the city lights. I parked in a garage a block from the Harbor View. The lobby was all soft lighting, hushed tones, and the faint scent of lemongrass. A man in a dark suit was waiting by the concierge desk. He had a security badge clipped to his lapel and the weary, seen-it-all eyes of a former cop. "Mr. Walsh," he said as I approached. "Yes. I'm Ray, head of security. Your friend Ben filled me in. We're going to take the service elevator up to the 8th floor. I will knock on the door and announce its security. You will stand behind me. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not enter the room until I assess the situation. My priority is the safety and discretion of all guests, but given the circumstances Ben described, we'll handle this as a domestic welfare concern." Understood. Understood. The ride in the service elevator was silent. My heart was no longer a drum. It was a still, cold thing in my chest. Ray's posture was professional, impassive. We reached the 8th floor, the doors opening onto a plush, silent corridor. Room 814 was at the end of the hall. Ray knocked, firm and authoritative. "Security. Hotel security. Please open the door." Silence. Then a muffled sound from within. A voice, David's, irritated. "What's this about? We have a concern we need to address. Please open the door." More muffled sounds. Hurried movement. Then the door opened a crack, held by a security chain. David Chin's face appeared in the gap. He was flushed, wearing a hotel bathrobe. Over his shoulder, I could see the dim room, a king-size bed, and Chloe, frozen halfway between the bed and the bathroom, clutching a sheet to her chest. Her eyes, wide with terror, found mine over David's shoulder. The world narrowed to that point. Her face, the guilt etched, there was more damning than any photograph. "Sir, "We have a report of a possible disturbance," Ray said, his voice a monotone. "We need to verify the welfare of all occupants. May we come in?" "This is ridiculous," David blustered, but the fear was there too. "There's no disturbance. My wife and I are fine." "That's not your wife, David," I said. My voice sounded alien to me. Flat, calm, devoid of all emotion. Chloe made a small, strangled sound. Ray shot me a warning look, but continued. "Sir, for our records, we need to confirm the identity of all guests in the room. Standard procedure." He was good. He made it sound boring, bureaucratic. Knowing the game was up, David, with a look of furious resignation, unchained the door and stepped back. Ray entered first, a solid, blocking presence. I followed. The room was a masterpiece of evidence. 2 wine glasses on the nightstand. Clothing, Chloe's blouse, her jeans, her distinctive leopard print heels, scattered on a chair. David's suit jacket draped over the back. The bed was disheveled. The air smelled of perfume, wine, and sex. Chloe stood, trembling, the sheet pulled up to her chin. "Mark, it's not. I can explain." I didn't look at her. I looked at Ray. "As you can see, my wife is not in distress. She's exactly where she chose to be." I turned my gaze to David. "You're David Chun, Avalon Tech. My name is Mark Walsh. I'm the husband. I'm sure our lawyers will be in touch." I looked back at Chloe. "Get dressed. I'll be waiting downstairs in the lobby. You have 10 minutes. If you're not down, I leave, and you can explain all of this to your sister yourself." I turned and walked out of the room. I didn't slam the door. I walked back down the hall, Ray falling into step beside me. "You handled that better than most," he said quietly in the elevator. "It's not over," I said, staring at the descending floor numbers. "No," he agreed. "It never is." I waited in a high-back lobby chair, facing the elevators. I didn't fidget. I didn't check my phone. I just waited. Ben had been right. The goal was fact. The fact was now incontrovertible. I had seen it. Ray had seen it. It was a matter of record with hotel security. She emerged from the elevator 7 minutes later. She was pale, her makeup smudged, her hair hastily pulled back. She looked like a stranger who had just survived a car crash. She walked towards me, her steps hesitant. The lobby was still quiet, but I saw a concierge glance our way, then quickly look down. She stopped in front of my chair. "Mark, don't," I said, standing up. My calm was a brittle shell, and I could feel the first cracks forming. "Not a word. Not here. We're going home. You will follow me in your own car. We'll talk there. That is all." The drive home was the longest of my life. In the rearview mirror, I could see the headlights of her SUV trailing me, a constant, accusing presence. The drizzle had turned into a steady rain, weeping down the windshield. When we got home, I went straight to the living room. I didn't turn on the bright overhead lights, just a single lamp. I stood by the fireplace, the one we'd had installed last winter, where we'd toasted marshmallows during a snowstorm. She came in, closing the door softly behind her. She didn't take off her coat. She stood just inside the room, a supplicant awaiting judgment. "How long?" I asked. The question hung in the dim space. She swallowed. "For months. For months, a season. A full summer of lies. Of working late. Of girls' nights. Of visiting Julie." "What?" She started to cry, silent tears tracing through the remains of her mascara. "I don't know. It just happened. We met at a conference." He listened to me. "You've been so distant, Mark, so focused on work." And there it was. The pivot. The attempt to reframe the narrative. My fault. My distance. I felt the first hot spike of anger pierce the ice. "Don't," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "Don't you dare try to make this about me working too hard. I worked to provide this." I gestured around the room. "For us. For the life you wanted. You didn't come to me and say you were lonely. You didn't ask for counseling. You went out and found someone else to listen to you. And you lied to me every single day. You used your sister as an alibi. You looked me in the eye and kissed me goodbye on your way to a hotel room." "I'm sorry," she whispered, the words pathetic and useless. "I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. It meant everything." I corrected her, the anger rising now, a tide I couldn't hold back. "It meant our marriage was a joke to you. It meant my trust was an inconvenience. It meant you were capable of a level of deception I didn't think was in you. It meant nothing is the biggest lie of all. It meant enough to destroy this. It meant enough to risk everything. She crumpled then, sinking onto the arm of the sofa, sobbing into her hands. What do you want me to do? What can I do? I looked at her, this woman I had loved for 8 years. I searched for that love now, like sifting through the ashes of a burned house, looking for something, anything, recognizable. I found only cold embers and the acrid smell of betrayal. I want you to pack a bag, I said, my voice once again under that frightening control. You're going to go to Julie's. You were going to tell her the truth. You're going to tell her why you used her name tonight. And then, tomorrow, you're going to find a lawyer. Because I have already spoken to mine. We are done. Her head jerked up. You're not even going to try? You're just giving up. The sheer audacity of it took my breath away. I'm giving up. Chloe, you gave up 4 months ago. You checked out. You just forgot to tell me. Tonight wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the end. You just finally got caught. She stared at me, the reality of the consequences dawning. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a dramatic scene followed by tearful makeup sex. This was a termination. Where will I go? She asked, a child's question. I don't care, I said, and I meant it with every shattered piece of my heart. Julie's. A hotel. David Chen's place. That's not my problem anymore. You made your choice. These are the accommodations. I left her sobbing in the living room. I went to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and closed the door. I didn't lock it. The symbolic gesture felt pointless. I sat on the edge of the bed, in the dark, and listened to the sounds of her moving through the house, gathering things. The opening and closing of drawers. The sound of a suitcase zipper. About 20 minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. A moment later, the sound of her car starting and driving away. The silence that followed was absolute. It was the silence of a vacuum. It was the sound of my old life being sucked out into the void. The days that followed were a numb, procedural haze. Ben connected me with a shark of a divorce attorney, a woman named Diane Thorne whose voice could frost glass. I gave her all the evidence, the phone logs, the security report from Ray, my own timeline. Diane's lips pursed in a thin, satisfied line. This is excellent. Adultery is a fault ground in this state. It impacts the dissolution profoundly, especially given the duration and the theatrical nature of the discovery. We'll go for a disproportionate division of assets. No spousal support. We'll tie him up in knots too, if he's married. David Chun, it turned out, was also married. Diane's eyes glittered at that. Even better. I stayed in the house. I slept in the guest room. I couldn't bear our bed. Chloe stayed with Julie, who, after the initial shock and anger at being used, had rallied to her sister's side, as I knew she would. Blood is thicker than truth. Chloe called. She texted. Long, rambling messages full of apologies, self-flagellation, pleas for another chance. And then, as the reality of the legal onslaught set in, angry accusations. Asterisk. You're being cruel. You're enjoying this. You never loved me enough to fight for me. Asterisk. I never responded. I forwarded the relevant ones to Diane. More evidence of instability, she'd note. The only communication I initiated was with Julie. I called her one evening. Julie, it's Mark. She was cold. What do you want? I want you to know I don't blame you. You were used as much as I was. A silence. Then a sigh, the anger leaking out of her. I know. I'm sorry, Mark. For what it's worth, I had no idea. She lied to me too. She lied to everyone. I know, I said. That's the point. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. Diane was a maestro. Chloe's lawyer, some harried-looking man she'd found through a Google search, was outgunned at every turn. The evidence was unassailable. The hotel security report was the nail in the coffin. Faced with the prospect of a public, ugly trial where her infidelity would be laid bare, and with the added threat of David Chen's furious wife potentially joining the fray, Chloe folded. She got the SUV. She got half of our savings, though our savings were predominantly mine, as she'd worked sporadically as a freelance graphic designer. She got none of my retirement. She got no spousal support. She got to keep the debt on her personal credit cards. The house, which was in my name alone, purchased with an inheritance from my grandfather, remained mine. It was, as Ben had promised, a financial document served as vengeance. It left her financially precarious, socially humiliated, and alone. David Chun, under threat from his own wife and the potential professional fallout from a scandal, dropped Chloe immediately. She was left with nothing but the consequences. The final hearing was a formality. We sat on opposite sides of a sterile conference room. She looked diminished, older. She avoided my eyes. When the judge finalized the decree, there was no sound but the stamp of a seal and the scratch of a pen. Afterwards, in the hallway, she finally approached me. Diane moved subtly closer, a guardian. "Mark," Chloe said, her voice thin. "I am sorry. For all of it." I looked at her. I felt nothing. Not anger, not hatred, not even pity. Just a vast, empty space where she used to be. "I know you are," I said. "But sorry doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't unbreak what you broke. It just acknowledges the wreckage. Is there ever a chance?" The question was a whisper, a final, desperate thread. I looked at this stranger, this woman who had shared my bed and my dreams, and then deliberately, systematically, shattered them. I thought of the phone call from Julie, the drive to the harbor view, the sight of her clutching that sheet. "No," I said, the word final and absolute. "There's no chance. Goodbye, Chloe." I turned and walked away with Diane. I didn't look back. That was 6 months ago. I sold a house. Too many ghosts. I bought a condo downtown with a view of the water. It's smaller, quieter. It's mine alone. I heard through the grapevine that Chloe moved to Portland, trying to start over. Julie and I have an awkward but cordial relationship. She checks in sometimes. I think she feels guilty for her unwitting part in it all. I went on a few dates. Nothing serious. It's hard to trust. The ghost of that Wednesday night, of Julie's confused voice on the phone, lingers. Asterisk, she said she was visiting her sister. Her sister called me looking for her. Asterisk. It's the plainest sentence in the world. It contains no drama, no lurid detail. But it was the tripwire that brought the whole facade crashing down. It was the single, incontrovertible fact that proved the entire story of my life was a fiction. Sometimes, in the deep quiet of the night, I don't think about the betrayal itself. I don't think about David Chun. I think about the drive home from the hotel, her headlights in my rearview mirror. I think about the profound, terrifying silence of the house after she left. And I think about the moment in the kitchen, the pot clattering in the sink, when the world I knew ended and a colder, clearer, lonelier one began. It was a lesson written in the starkest possible terms. The most dangerous lies aren't the elaborate ones. They're the simple, casual ones told with a kiss goodbye. And the truth, when it finally comes, often arrives not with a shout, but with a confused phone call from the very alibi you were counting on.